Good morning, beloveds. It's Monday. I'm not sure I'm awake. And I've been up. I've been for a bike ride. I have emptied 3 of the milk crates. Then now they're ready to go in the garage. So yeah, I've gotten a lot done, and I'm just, apparently my brain's not engaged yet. Okay. We are doing Living the Science of Mind. It's kind of a long one this morning. I meant to get in here earlier, but I wanted to get a couple other things done. So here we are. So let's do the housekeeping and get on with this. What is the housekeeping? Simply me reminding you that we are Creative Life Spiritual Center. The website is creativelife.org. The constant contact email is info@creativelife.org. If you will email that, then that will get you one email a week that tells you what's going on for the week and the month. And the hot links are hot, and it is a blind CC, which means nobody will see your email. You won't end up on anybody else's email list because of us. So those are, and then just real briefly on the social medias. Hang on. Got distracted by that weird curl. We don't monetize the social media. We don't want to deal with the ads any more than you do. So what we ask you to do instead is to engage with the pages. Like, follow, subscribe based on which platform you're on. And then there are more words. Engage with the individual posts by reacting, sharing, and commenting on the posts. That would be great. And we are Creative Life Spiritual Center or Creative Life Spark, depending on which platform you're on. And I am the Running Rev Ryan across all of the platforms that I am on. So, okay. Now, this is a collection of essays that came from the at-home course. It was in the back of the Science of Mind magazine. You can mail off for it, and every week they would mail you, for 48 weeks, they would mail you one lesson a week. Honestly, my pet theory is that people had questions. And they would either write to Ernest or call Ernest. And so he wrote the answers, which then became the take-home course, which then they pulled all but 2 of the essays for this book. So this is just Ernest answering people's questions is what I think. And that's the way it reads. It's like, we've talked about all of these things. I threw my highlighter on the ground. We've talked about all of these things, but now we want a little more information. We want to go a little deeper. So that's what this book is. And today we just happen to be in the section where we're talking about mental treatment. Today is a long title and a decent length article. I think it's like 4 pages. The use and meaning of words in mental treatment. So, the entire basis for spiritual mind healing lies in the assumption that we are now living in a spiritual and mental universe, that law is mind in action, that thinking and action are the same. And if thinking and action equal the same thing, certain kinds of thinking must constitute certain kinds of action. It logically follows that if one kind of thought produces a certain effect, then the opposite thought must produce the opposite effect. And interestingly enough, there is science behind this. Apparently, thinking about exercise does benefit the body a little bit. Not the way doing the exercise does, but, they have shown that there is some benefit to the body in just thinking about exercise. So, it doesn't take the place of actual exercise, but so there is, some science behind this. Mental treatment is mind in action. A person should use those words which convey a meaning to their own thought. For instance, if they say this word is the law of elimination, they must feel that any condition which does not belong is actually being eliminated. Since it would be impossible for them to believe that mind could operate upon some matter or substance which is unlike mind, they must first have resolved things into thoughts. For the practitioner does not treat a body separate from consciousness. They treat consciousness alone, since the state of inaction which they seek to remove. Hence the state of inaction which they seek to remove. So far as mental treatment is concerned, is neither a state of material nor physical inaction, for they have reduced the whole process to a state of mental inaction. It is evident that unless they could do this, they could not give an effective mental treatment. Thought alone can reverse thought. Thought alone can handle thought, and only thought can demonstrate over that which is a result of thought. Therefore, the mental practitioner theoretically resolves everything into mind and proceeds upon the basis that mind is form or takes form, and that the form which it takes is still mind. Our work is done in the realm of mind alone, which is really, really important. And I just lost that sentence. Our work is done in the realm of mind alone. The words that we use should be simple, direct, and to the point, and should signify a meaning to our own consciousness. Now, that's a really important part. You gotta use the words that mean things to you. You don't use words that don't resonate with you, that don't mean things to you. Like, there are a lot of words out there that I've heard people use, and I'm like, well, okay, that's a nice word, but it doesn't vibrate with me. It doesn't make me feel. And so that's really what you're looking for, or what are the words that make you feel? Those are the words that you want to use. The process of reasoning in treatment must be one which establishes the person upon a spiritual basis, enthrones them in the kingdom of good, and gives them dominion over all apparent evil. If you say 4 and 4 make 8, and 8 has meaning because you have already experienced handling 8 marbles or 8 oranges or 8 chairs, then when you say 4 and 4 makes 8, you understand what those words mean. But do you understand what saying 4 million and 4 million mean, even while your intellect announces 8 million to be the answer? That's a good question. Okay. Words must have value to the inner comprehension. I am sure Jesus understood this when he spoke his word as being the spirit and life. He spoke of his words as though they were entities. The thought and the thing cannot be separated. The words I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life, implies that the words possess not only power, but almost a degree of personalness. In mathematics, a person can correctly use their principle only as far as their understanding goes. This is also true in mental treatment. What is this understanding which they must have and which they must pour into the word which they speak? They must understand their relationship to being itself, to God, to the universe, and to reality. There must be an interior awareness, a realization that good is all the power there is. A practitioner uses words that imply to their own imagination the idea of movement, of explanation, of action or reaction, or whatever the desire is. That is, when they use the word elimination, they must know that something is being eliminated. They must have unqualified faith that there is a movement towards the desired elimination, simultaneous with the words they use. The practitioner must come to realize that thoughts and things are not separated, they are identical. If they say substance is supply and supply is money, and if they desire to demonstrate money, when they use the word substance, they should feel the presence of substance. Otherwise, they are merely using a lot of words which have no meaning. Surely we cannot separate thoughts from things in our treatment and hope to demonstrate things through thinking. For unless thoughts were things, then thoughts could not change what we call things. Ernest, you are talking in circles, dude. Okay. Indeed, they would have no power over them whatsoever. It is upon this proposition that our whole science is based. Since thoughts are things, different kinds of thoughts are different kinds of things. Thoughts are things. Ugh. I feel like I've said the same thing about 3 times, just slightly different ways, which in truth is all science of mind is. It's like we've got a couple of basic principles and we just keep talking about them in different words, hoping that eventually we're going to hit on the words that make sense to everybody. So, all right. When the practitioner uses the idea of substance and supply in their imagination, the idea should not be divorced from the actual presence of whatever they think supply is, or whatever supply means to them. Honestly, when I think about supply, I don't think about money per se. I think about raw materials that I can use to make other things. So like if I was trading for money, I would have to rethink that. I don't think I would use the word supply, but I would probably use the word money or income or something like that. Because like I said, when I think of supply, I think of raw materials that I can use to turn into other things. I mean, not that you can't do that with money, but yeah. I'm a baker, so like I think of like eggs and flour and, things like that. That's what supply means to me. Okay, suppose they were conceiving. Suppose they were conceiving the idea of home. It would not be enough for them to say, but I am a stranger here, heaven is my home. In this world, home means house, tent, a place of residence, a place to live. Therefore, if they wish to demonstrate a home, when they use the idea of home, there should be some corresponding action to the word, which means the actual presence of a right place in which to live. What words we can really use for spiritual meaning, significance, and reality constitute the stage of consciousness we are entertaining at any particular time. I just read that sentence and I have no idea. What? Okay, hang on. Woo, I'm going to try that again. What words we can really use with spiritual meaning, significance, and reality constitute the stage of consciousness we are entertaining at any particular time. Okay, meaning, I had the commas in the wrong place, which is why it didn't make sense to me. Meaning that, depending on which situation you are in, you're going to use different words. That's all that sentence meant. As a matter of fact, our state of consciousness is what we are. And if we happen to be in a business and wish to treat for right action, we must realize that right action means being busy in the thing that we are doing. Business is an activity of consciousness, and the business of mind is never inactive. Nor is the business of mind limited to 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, etc. It is as limitless as our concept of it is. Spirit is good, therefore business is good, and we should know that our business represents our oneness with supply, with the creative cause, with the creative givingness, and with the limitless activity of the Creator. Whew, he's using big words today. Oh. Ernest, you're making me work for it. I appreciate the articles, the essays that make me work for it, though. Our business enterprise is the demand which we make upon supply. And since the demand is answered and can be answered only in terms of the demand made, and since there is no gap between, because both supply and demand are mental or spiritual, then it follows that supply follows demand. While demand does not limit supply, but measures it out at the level of the demand made. Now, that's kind of a super important part, and I hope he leans into that. Because Spirit can only give you what you can accept. So you're going to get what you ask for. And if it's not enough, it means you didn't ask for enough. One person working for success might have the idea of enough money with which to pay rent. Another might have the idea after the rent is paid, they should have a few dollars left over. While still another might have the idea that paying rent was merely attending to a detail, and that out of limitless abundance, they should have money left with which they could share with others. There must be some reason why some succeed and others fail if the universe in which we live is intelligent. It is impossible to conceive of mind as ever being unexpressed, and wealth and poverty are expressions of mind, fulfilling an idea. Okay, let's not get caught up in the whole, it's all on you, okay? Because we are talking about wealth and poverty. We are also in relationship, and there are systems in place. So you can have all of the mental that you want, but if you are caught up in a system, well. So sometimes we got to work on the systems in our treatments as well as our own consciousness. So let's see. Okay. The thought of success will create success. Mind thinks and it is done. People's business is God's business, and God's business is people's business. And there is only one business, which is the business of life. You know, all right. Sometimes Jesse says we are a verbal people, and sometimes I'm reading these and I'm going, Ernest, you could have left out about half those words and then it still would have made sense. Life is never inactive, never inadequate. It is always perfect. And let me remind you that perfect does not mean flawless. Perfect means everything's included, including the messiness. Okay? And abundance is the only law there is. But your words must have meaning, and their meaning is their power. Ugh. But your words must have meaning, and their meaning is their power. So it's really important to, be aware of the words that you are using all the time, but especially when you are caught in strong emotions. If you are treating to heal a physical disease, you should realize that material appearance is a mental formation rather than a law unto itself. Your realization that this formation is not necessary, and that the significance of the statement which you make in declaring that your word is the law of elimination of the condition, should have the same reaction in your own thought as that which would be produced if, while you were looking at something, it should disappear. You would immediately recognize the omnipresence and the omnipotence of God, and to such a degree as your recognition of the omnipresence of good signifies to your own thought the annihilation of the negative physical condition, the condition will cease. This is what we call hardball metaphysics. Okay? I firmly believe that Emma Curtis Hopkins can do it. Yeah. Because you read her and yeah. All right. When the practitioner says this word is for so-and-so or for such and such a purpose, their definite intention specifies the place or the purpose, and this is all they need to do. From then on, their work is within themselves. And their work is a combination of thinking, which through argument or realization brings about a complete acceptance of the desired fact. It would be impossible to do this unless facts could be reduced to states of consciousness. Oh my goodness. We're almost done. We're almost done. Last page. That which needs to be externally changed is not a thing in and of itself, but a physical state of consciousness. All right. Physical state of consciousness. This is the crux of the whole matter. It is the finest of all points in metaphysical practice. It is the essence of the subject, but unfortunately, it is too often overlooked. The external condition is not a thing, but a thought externalized, and thought externalized is still thought. A mental conclusion objectified is still a mental conclusion. This is the meaning of argument in giving mental treatments. The argument is for the purpose of convincing the mind of the practitioner that the condition, which needs to be changed, is not a thing in itself, that back of it is a perfect universe, God, the all-being, But unless the words used by the practitioner in such argument have a definite meaning to them, implying life and action, they will have no power. If we could understand that objective nature is a thing of thought, a divine language, still plastic in the imagination of its conceiver, we should know how to liken the laws of nature to the laws of thought. For this, a mental physician must do. We shall know how to liken the laws of nature to the laws of thought. Whew. Last paragraph. Their work is specific in that it meets and repudiates a claim where the claim is. It denies it wherever it is and affirms the opposite. For they must meet the false argument either with an argument that is directly opposite or by realization which denies the argument without controversy. This is called spiritual realization. Therefore, the condition must be met as though it were the surface form of a mental argument or a state of consciousness, a suggestion rather than the thing itself. All right, Ernest. Your words have power. Your words have power. Which is why when you are doing treatments for whatever you are doing, you want to use words that mean something to you, because that is the whole point. But the other part of that is that thoughts are things. You know, we're not treating the thing. We are treating the thought that created the thing. We are changing the thought that created the thing. Whew. And we can either do that by spiritual realization or by arguing for the opposite. It's like, look, this body is meant to carry me without pain. That's the argument. Or maybe that's the realization. So, you know, here we are. All right, beloveds. that was I'm going to have to go away and think about that one because that was a lot of words. So, we will pick up tomorrow with affirmation and denials in treatments, which is good. So, all right. In Science of Mind, we don't tend to use a lot of denials, but Emma loved them and I actually do enjoy them. So, you know, I'm like, you are not that. You are not the condition. You may be experiencing the condition, but you are not the condition. So, all right. Now I'm going to, hang on. Encourage you to have a great day, a wondrous day, a fantastic day, a magical day, an enchanted day, a wonderful day, an awesome day, an amazing day. Let's get this week started off right day. Feel free to dance in the rain if you get it day, but stay out of the thunderstorms day. Watch the lightning from a safe distance day. We've been getting a lot of pop-up thunderstorms in the afternoon here. A drink plenty of water day, a stay out of the heat day, a stay out of direct sunlight between 10 and 2 because it's just really hot. It's July. Cuddle your fur babies day, a tell somebody you love them day, a apologize when you're wrong day, a you got this day, a let's go take care of business day, a good day, and if that is too much pressure, simply have a day. And I get it. I've had days like that. Simply have a day. You are enough, just as you are. You're a beloved expression of the divine. You are spirit in motion, God in action, a beautiful masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time, a brilliant light and a divine spark. As Reverend Jesse likes to call us, you are a godling. All right? Explore the truth of your being. Get to know who the divine knows you to be. Because the divine knows you to be good. It's all the divine knows. And from there, anything is possible. All right, beloveds, I'm going to move on into the rest of my day. Reverend David should be on around 5 p.m. with you. I'll be back with you 9:15. Take care of yourself. Know that you are loved. And I will see you next time. I can't hit the finish button.